Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Weekly Reads, where we give you 5 book recommendations all in one show. My name is Devon. I'm a librarian at the Worcester Public Library. Just like my co-host, Joy. Do you have any exciting plans for the weekend, Joy?
Well, I'm going to see a great-granddaughter, newly born great-granddaughter. So her name's Natalie. I'm pretty excited about that. What about you?
Oh, we're doing a museum program on Saturday, not too long after this video. So maybe we'll get a few extra people after the video.
If I didn't have a conflict, I would attend. It sounds really interesting.
Well, great-grandbabies are very important.
They take priority.
Yes. So if you're new to our show, most everything we're talking about today, you can get on your phone or device through the Overdrive, Libby, or Hoopla app. We're also doing, of course, things in print now. You can pick things up at the library, order online or over the phone. If you're not sure how to do any of that, feel free to call us and we will walk you through it. So just pay attention if you see a book you're interested in. The slide for that book will tell you what format we have it available in. So now I am going to switch slides so you can see the books we have in store for you today. Okay, so this is what we have lined up this week. As usual, I will do the fiction, Joy will do the nonfiction, and we have our coming soon title. So for my first pick this week, I chose a romance just to make Joy cranky.
And you know me.
I do. Okay, so this is Island Affair, but it's the first book in the Keys to Love series by Priscilla Oliveras. It just came out in April. When it came out, it was a Goodreads Best Book of the Month, and also it was one of the most anticipated books of the month by Kirkus Reviews and Bookpage. It's being called a romantic comedy filled with humor, Latinx culture, and fun family dynamics that makes for a perfect beach read. So even if we can't make it to the beach this summer, it sounds like it's a really nice book for relaxing in the sunshine. In the book, social media influencer Sarah Vance has a potential career expansion on the horizon. Despite the good news, her siblings and their perfect spouses make her feel like the odd one out. So when her boyfriend is a no-show for a family vacation in Florida, Sarah recruits Luis Navarro, a firefighter, paramedic, and dive captain, willing to play the part of her fiancé. Luis's big Cuban familia has been in Key West for generations, and he'll always help someone in need, especially a beauty with a surprising knowledge of Spanish curse words. Soon, he and Sarah have memorized their How We Met story and are immersed in family dinners, bike tours, and private snorkeling trips, sharing secrets and slow kisses. But when it's time for Sarah to return home, will their relationship fade into the sunset? This book got a lot of good reviews, even some good words from the best-selling author Jasmine Guillory, who also writes popular romance novels. She said, "I finished Island Affair and can't decide what I adored more. Luis and Sarah's love story, their relationships with their complicated and loving families, or the setting of Key West." So like I said, even if we can't make it to the beach this year, maybe this will make you feel like you're in Key West. And here's a book for Joy.
I'd love to visit Key West. I've never been there, but I think I'll skip the book. I'm just not a romance reader, sorry.
It's okay.
My first choice this week is And Their Children After Them by Dale Maharaj and Michael Williamson, which won a Pulitzer Prize when it was first published in 1989 and was the subject of a very lively discussion at the meeting of our American History Book Discussion Group this past Tuesday. An updated 30th anniversary edition came out in 2019. Take a look at this little girl. Her name for our purposes was Maggie Louise Gudger, and she was 9 years old and already adept at picking cotton when 2 strangers from up north came to stay with her family in 1936. If you've studied either the history of photography or the Great Depression, you may already be familiar with this photograph. It was taken by Walker Evans, who accompanied journalist James Agee on a journey into the Deep South to chronicle the lives of sharecroppers for Forbes magazine. Forbes specifically asked that they profile white families only, even though approximately half of those engaged in sharecropping at that time were Black. Poverty was a hard enough sell, they said. Nobody wanted to read about the Black poor. In 1941, Agee published a book based on his experiences entitled, "And Now Let Us Praise Famous Men," which garnered mixed reviews and mediocre sales at the time. It was not until 1957, when Agee's posthumous memoir, A Death in the Family, was published, that his earlier work became a minor classic. And the image of Maggie Louise, gazing into an unknown future through her big gray-blue eyes, became part of our cultural legacy. So what happened to Maggie and the others whose stories featured in And Now Let Us Praise Famous Men? In 1986 and again in 2015, journalists Dale Maharaj and Michael Williamson traveled to Alabama to find out. They spoke to many of the over 100 descendants of the 3 original families, seeking to discover whether their lives had improved over the years. The answer: yes, kind of, sort of, sometimes. After all, King Cotton had been dethroned. The sharecropping system, one of the cruelest ever devised, had been dismantled. And while this resulted in the temporary displacement of thousands of people, most were happy enough to move on into jobs in manufacturing or the service economy, where they were not subject to the abject starvation level poverty experienced by their grandparents. That's the good news. The bad news is that due to substandard education and many other factors, true economic well-being has eluded many of them. The jobs they have been able to secure are often poorly paid or physically punishing, or both. Many have lived a kind of roller coaster existence, flourishing during the good times, sliding back into poverty when tables turn. And Maggie Louise, her fate may shock and will certainly sadden you, but her descendants remain hopeful and resilient. Most remnants of the rural South that Agee and Evans visited in 1936 are gone now. We are left with oppressive heat, deep darkness, flickering fireflies, and the disintegrating traces of the farmers who once inhabited this haunted and haunting landscape.
I know this is a different time period and regional area, but this reminds me of that other book you reviewed, Evicted, Power and Profit in the American City.
Oh, so many of the issues are similar, regardless of regional differences.
Yeah. All right, well, here's another fiction title. This one is a collection of short stories. This is Ex Libris, Stories of Librarians, Libraries, and Lore. And this was put together by Paula Gurin. If you don't know who Paula Gurin is, she's put together a ton of anthologies like this. And they're on pretty much every subject, from libraries like this one, to vampires, urban fantasy, Cthulhu, science fiction, and horror. So she's sort of an anthologist extraordinaire. In this anthology, it's a captivating compilation of science fiction and fantasy short fiction showcasing stories of librarians, mysterious curators, heroic bibliognosts, arcane archivists, catalogers of very special collections, and libraries, repositories of arcane wisdom, storehouses of signals from other galaxies, bastions of culture, the last outposts of civilization in a post-apocalyptic world. So for this compilation, Gurin took 24 previously published stories from different magazines and reprinted them here all in one collection. Some of the authors are names like Elizabeth Bear, Ray Bradbury, Holly Black, and Kelly Link. There's a lot of great people in there. The coworker who recommended this anthology to me said that some of the stories are mythological, some are dreamy, some are funny, some are borderline horror, but all are well written. It got good reviews as well. Publishers Weekly said it is a solid collection and that it has something for everybody. So if you like short stories and you like libraries or librarians, which I hope you do if you're watching this show, this sounds like a good anthology to try out. And here's one from Joy.
Devin, that one I'll read. That sounds fascinating.
1 out of 2 isn't bad.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, take a look at this picture. Doesn't that snow look kind of good around now? I mean, it does. I want to plunge right in. Only time of the year when snow looks good to me.
True.
Okay, my next choice is The World Beneath Their Feet, Mountaineering Madness and the Race to Summit the Himalayas by Scott Ellsworth. So why would anyone want to climb a mountain over 20,000 feet high? A nice amble up Mount Wachusett? Sure. A challenging hike on Mount Washington? Maybe. But what would entice a human being to enter the death zone with all its accompanying miseries, bitter cold, sudden avalanche, crowded tents, the slow blinking out of thousands of brain cells, and, oh yes, the very real possibility of death? Obviously, this is incomprehensible to most sensible souls. Fortunately, for those of us who prefer to climb our mountains vicariously, not all of us are sensible souls. There are many high altitude climbers among us, and many of them have written fine accounts of their adventures. John Krakauer's Into Thin Air stands out. Scott Ellsworth's The World Beneath Their Feet is the latest addition to this body of work. He focuses on the years between 1924, when Mallory and Irvine vanished on the slopes of Everest, and 1953, when Hillary and Tenzing successfully reached the summit. This was the time when the ultimately murderous conflict between Great Britain and Nazi Germany played out against a Himalayan backdrop, both nations desperate for mountaineering glory. The Americans and representatives of other countries also waded in, with the American effort focused on K2. Nobody, however, won the race until after the war in 1953, when a German climber ascended Nanga Parbat solo, a remarkable achievement, by the way, and Hillary and Tenzing, in the words of the former, quote, put down, end quote, Mount Everest. Along the way, the endeavor produced plenty of stories of bravery and cowardice, sacrifice and selfishness, generosity and meanness. There was the British eccentric Maurice Wilson, who flew from England to India, then attempted to climb Everest despite a woeful lack of experience in either flight or climbing, and came closer than anyone might have imagined to making it. There were the 2 members of the 1953 Everest expedition who, having failed the summit, shared everything they had learned with the team assigned to make the next attempt, probably knowing that their names would fade into obscurity, while those of Hillary and Tenzing live on. Personally, I'm not sure that I like the idea of conquering a mountain peak. A little too military for me. But I found myself teary-eyed when Hillary and Tenzing took their final labored steps to the summit of Mount Everest. And I am certainly relieved that the swastika never flew atop any peak on any mountain at the top of the world. Oh, and did I tell you about the small black cloth cat, an expedition mascot, that Hillary buried at the summit of Mount Everest? I bet you knew I'd sneak a cat in there somewhere if I could.
Excellent job. So I have climbed one mountain on the Appalachian Trail, and I did have a sense of accomplishment at the top. It was very beautiful, but that was enough mountain for me.
I think it would be for me too.
All right, now it's time for a coming soon title. So this book is coming out on Tuesday, August 11th. It's called Little Scratch by Rebecca Watson. A description of the book says, she wakes up, goes to work, watches the clock, and checks her phone. But underneath this monotony, there's something else going on, something under her skin, relayed in interweaving columns that chart the feedback loop of memory, the senses, and modern distractions with wit and precision. Our narrator becomes increasingly anxious as the day moves on. Is she overusing the heart emoji? Isn't drinking 8 glasses of water a day supposed to fix everything? Why is the etiquette of the women's bathroom so overwrought? How does she define rape? And why can't she stop scratching? Fiercely moving and slyly profound, Little Scratch reveals a young woman's every thought over the course of 24 hours after a sexual assault. This book got a lot of praise from big authors and reviewers. Kirkus says, the unnamed narrator of this debut novel is in every woman. The narrative reproduces the experience of her scattered thoughts which overlap, interrupt each other, merge and battle in the saturated now of the book's overwhelming immediacy. The result is an unusual reading experience, a daring book whose innovations are balanced by pain. So I found a few sample pages, and you'll see one on the right of your screen. I was kind of curious about the interweaving columns, so this is exactly what we have. There's things happening on both sides of the page. They kind of flow, they kind of don't. And this is what I saw when I found the sample. So it's very innovative, and I think it does pretty accurately describe what goes on in your head when you're getting ready for work. This is what she's doing on this page.
Very intriguing.
Yeah, so if you're a fan of literary fiction, obviously this has some difficult themes in it, but it sounds like it's very interesting to cover someone's thoughts for 24 hours. This book is already in the catalog in print if you want to put a hold on it for when it comes out on the 11th, but I'm not sure if it'll be in Overdrive and Libby, but hopefully it will soon. So that brings us to the end of our episode for this week. Don't forget that if there's a topic or a genre you'd like a recommendation for, you can just put it in the comments below, and Joy and I will see what we can do. Otherwise, thanks so much for watching, and hope to see you next week.
See you later, fellow readers.